So moving forward, we get to see the anaerobic fermentation. So basically this is a controlled fermentation where the cherries or the pulped beans are put into an oxygen-free environment, such as tanks, barrels, or plastic bags, where our coffee can't access oxygen. So in this oxygen-free environment creates a macroaerobic activities such as naturally occurring yeasts, bacteria, break down the sugars and the mucilage on the beans or the cherries, creating carbon dioxide inside the tanks. So this created carbon dioxide creates pressure, which is responsible for developing the acids, the flavors and the aromas. So here the temperatures are being carefully monitored, and the pH, and the fermentation time can be between 12 hours to 72 hours or even more, depending on what you want. So after the fermentation, the beans are washed if needed, then transferred into the drying places. So if the anaerobic processes carefully and handled, it produces the most fruity, complex and distinct flavors, tropically, like winey and spices. So carbonic macellation, it's another form of fermentation. It's also called the intercellular fermentation, simply because it happens within the cherry. So this was copied from the wine process method, where the grapes are being sealed into tanks, and then those tanks are filled with carbon dioxide, allowing them to ferment. So from that perspective, it's where it was good. So here the cherries are being sealed into tanks, creating that anaerobic environment, no oxygen. Then they apply carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide that is being applied creates a microorganism, specifically like lactic acids and bacteria that break down the mucilage into those cherries, creating more complex, distinct fruit and wine-like flavors. So if it's done well, the flavors are more like wine. So the only difference between carbonic macellation and anaerobic fermentation is that for carbonic macellation, carbon dioxide is introduced into those sealed tanks, but for the anaerobic fermentation, oxygen is being prevented from getting into those tanks. So once the oxygen is prevented into those tanks, the pressure inside creates carbon dioxide. So there is no introduction of carbon dioxide for the anaerobic fermentation. Thank you for watching.